Hey guys, so today I have Brett. So Brett has been in the program since November, late November of last year. We're now recording around late March, so 4 months in. And I think this will be a really interesting one because so Brett, you'll see here has tried therapy, reading a lot of books, and his problem, or so he thought before, was really what he thought was like a sexual lack of intimacy problem. But diving deeper, as we always say, the root cause is always a safety issue. And we'll talk about why that is as well. And here he is 4 months later. And I think you said to me that you were kind of surprised at how quickly everything turned around in your relationship. And you tried therapy for a very long time. So you're kind of like kicking yourself in the balls in a way to say, like, how come I didn't try this sooner? But let's go to the beginning and let's talk about how are things like when you first joined the program between you and your wife, within yourself, etc.
Yeah, so um even like just a little bit before, I guess, if I could go like when I first discovered your YouTube videos and stuff. Um so it was just to a point where I think I had a lot of blaming issues within the relationship. And it had just got to a point where one day my partner just she just said, this is so hard for me to say. And my Trinisa said that, my mind like went to all extremes. And it's like, I just think we need to separate. It's like, oh my gosh. So then, it was just a couple days within that I decided to look up on YouTube, like what could help me. And I found your videos and they just really resonated with me. And so, I guess just to fast forward like a couple weeks into that, because I joined the program basically a month after my partner and I separated. So like while I was watching your YouTube videos a lot, I was trying to apply like what I could, and it was basically like my partner only wanted me around when she went to work so I could watch our daughter. She's friendly. She was avoiding contact with me. And so it was like we wanted to still show like our daughter that we were going to be like good to each other. Like
Mm.
we didn't want contention, at least obvious contention in front of her. So yeah, to I guess how we were when I joined the program, it was that we both agreed that we were going to be kind, and but there was kind of this sense of like, I don't know, we're just going to be co-parents here. And then when I joined the program, yeah, there was a lot of self-reflection that I had to do, like really the victim to hero worksheet um, was probably like the first time where I really like dove deep into myself and like the issues that I had with myself.
Mm.
Before that, it was just like a lot of encouragement of like, oh, you're not that bad, you're okay.
Mm.
And so the victim to hero worksheet really caused me to self-reflect, and before I'd really like gone into trying to reinterpret those, um, I even think just like that by itself, causing me to like understand the issues I had, um, kind of just helped me to, um, oh no, like I think my partner saw that, I saw that, and it just helped us to be. Oh no, I feel like I'm getting like a little
Yeah. I think
off
in my
track here,
words,
but
like in my experience, right, this just getting rid of that victim mindset, and we'll talk about this in depth in a bit, how you making the internal shifts is massive in
yeah,
terms of creating that safety. Is massive. And we'll talk about why that is. But like the biggest part of that is like when you start to get rid of the victim mindset and you stop blaming your partner for stuff, blaming things outside of yourself, what happens is I think your partner can look at you now and see you as someone who's in control, someone who's taking responsibility. So a big part of why my partner was able to relax into safety in my relationship, for example, was that the moment when she stopped seeing me blaming things outside of myself, blaming other people, blaming work, blaming society, blaming government, blaming like the weather, whatever it is. And I said to myself, like, no, this is my problem. This is my issue. I need to fix this. I will fix this. Then she can go, well, this guy's got his shit together. So maybe I can relax a little bit. I can feel a bit safer spiritually. I can feel a bit safer emotionally. I can feel a bit safer financially because this guy, like, even though we don't have, like, we're not rich at that point in time, we don't have the emotional safety, we don't have the psychological safety. The fact that this guy is taking ownership makes me feel like, okay, at least we're on a way up. And that makes a massive difference. Is that kind of what you're trying to articulate?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you like kind of getting the wheels back on the road. I was kind of a little bit lost in my own thoughts there, but yeah, like I just my partner, I think there was one point before our separation where she just basically came to me and was like, I don't believe you're happy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm happy, I'm fine, and just like lying to myself the whole time. And it wasn't until like I was able to really like self-reflect and do a deep analysis of myself where I could truly like feel the things that was holding me back, which was, being a victim to a
Yeah.
lot of things. And once I was able to let go of that, like my mood just like instantly went up. And that's probably the biggest thing that she saw was like, this guy's not just like mad all the time. He's not grumpy with me. He's not blaming me for things. And like, I kind of like being around this guy right now. And
Yeah.
it was even like shocking for her to admit that one day that she's like, I have had so much fun with you. Like, why couldn't you just been like that like a few months ago?
I
And
want to go back further into, so you guys have been married for 8 years at that point, and
yeah,
you said like you saw a lot of signs of struggle, but you never really thought anything of it. Um, First of all, what were the struggles? So you said, for example, you were blaming your partner a lot. What were you blaming your partner for? What were the key issues that you perceived were the issues back then?
yeah, I mean, I could take a long time on this, but the quick version is so my partner has suffered from some pretty severe like anxiety and depression in the past. And so that alone really just she feels kind of just a little like tied to that, tied down by that. It's takes a lot of energy for her to really like win the day. Sometimes she has struggles with that still. And so I was doing a lot of blame for like, why am I always cleaning up the house by myself? Like, why can't you just clean up our daughter's mess when I get home from work? Or, blaming her for being spendy on things that I didn't think was really necessary. I was like really obsessive over our finances, and I would blame her if we had some bad months. I would blame her for like not wanting to be intimate. I think it even caused her to blame herself.
Yeah.
She's like, I have body image issues. I have, this anxiety and depression where I had an eating disorder at one point, and I'll never like fully accept my body. And I think that's why I can't be intimate with you because like I don't feel comfortable with myself. And we just like kept feeding into these things. And um she's been doing like a lot of her own therapy, which has been really great for her. And it caused her to one day realize that, like I don't have to put up with this shit anymore. Like that's not the right way to think. Like it's not because I don't love myself, like why I don't want to be intimate with this guy. Like I don't feel safe with this guy. And like I
It's
don't love
true.
him like that anymore.
Yeah. And it's funny because I went through the same cycles as you as well. So sexually, we struggled for the first, I'd say, 4 years of our relationship, right? Because, I really listened to like this red pill, high value man kind of bullshit who says, like, oh, if you're high value, then your woman should want to have sex with you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then you start to like latch onto a number. Well, good couples have sex 3 times a week, right? And we weren't. And she was never in the mood. She never wanted to do it, or she rarely wanted to do it. And I got pissed at her. But what a lot of guys don't understand is like, you cannot fix sexual issues directly like that. You cannot just tell someone, hey, can we have more sex, and expect them to have more sex, right? Because, like, as we'll discuss, sex and emotions is a very falling outcome. So what happens is, like, when you start to punish your partner, you start to blame your partner, hey, how come we're not having as much sex, right? You actually make it harder. You actually destroy the safety. You actually make it harder for them to want it. Because for women especially, sex is a very surrendering, it's a very soft, it's very like it's a very it's a thing that requires a lot of falling and safety, right? And if they
Yeah.
don't have that, they're not in a mood for it. They're never going to be in a mood for it. And so the more we try to fix sex, the more we actually will break it. The same way, the more we try to sleep, the more we actually cannot fall asleep. The more we try to force our partner to have sex, the more she doesn't want to. Um, and this goes the same with, like, the anxiety disorder, the depressive disorder, right? My partner kind of had something similar, and the way I interpret it now is my partner left or wanted to leave the relationship not because of her anxiety or depression, but because of all the people in the world to go through her anxiety and depression with, it wasn't me, because she didn't feel safe with me, right? In fact, being with me created more anxiety and depression, because now she's feeling, okay, I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling depressed. I know how much Jeff doesn't like me when I'm anxious and depressed. So now I'm anxious and depressed about what Jeff thinks about my anxiety and depression. It's just a fucking mess, you know?
No,
Um,
spot on.
and
Spot on. I
that's
always
kind
be
of like
like,
the
why?
bad cycle that a lot of guys cannot get out of, because, again, we'll talk about later, right? A lot of guys use the striving approach, they don't use the falling approach, which sucks. But I cut you off there, sorry.
Oh no, no. I can relate to that because like it's very obvious when my partner's like in a good mood and like herself and when she's not. And I think it's kind of obvious with anyone that you know that closely. And it'd always be just like, oh, like what's wrong now? And it's like, well, like why would I do that?
Yeah,
It's like it just spiral things down even further for her.
yeah, yeah. I was on a tangent. I was, sometimes we volunteer to help our friends with a lot of their relationship issues. And 2 nights ago, actually, a couple came over, and we were just talking about, because, like, the guy was having some infidelity things. He was, like, having extramarital stuff. And of course, the woman was really pissed. The wife was really pissed. And I said, and when we got to talking, and deconstructing everything, they both realized that, like, wow, the guy cheated. Yes, on the surface, it looks terrible. It looks bad. But really, he did it because she didn't create a safe environment for him. Like, she would be nagging at him all the time. She would be like, she would never give him this feminine healing that he needed. So he needed to go to it somewhere else. And I told her, like, okay, so now that you find out that he's not loyal and you get pissed at him, do you realize that you getting pissed at him is actually you worsening the problem in the first place? So here, right? He's feeling anxious. He's feeling pent up because he can't share things with you, because he's afraid of how you might react. So because he cannot share things with you, he looks at his release somewhere else. Well, now you're giving him more evidence that, yep, if I have shared something with her, she would blow up at me,
Mm.
right? Like, do you see? You're just, like, doing the same thing. So, safety again is the root. Um, but you said you guys tried couples therapy. You guys tried sex therapy specifically.
Yep.
What were the things that you guys were discussing in sex therapy to try to fix it?
Yeah. So we first came into it because I mean the reason why we did therapy was because it's like, yeah, we kind of had it in our mind like couples that love each other and are happy like typically have sex with each other, and we don't have that a lot. And so let's go to a therapist and see what's going on. And yeah, a lot of it was like trying to directly solve sex. And knowing what I know now, it's like that is not the thing that
Mm.
you would do. It's always the layer of safety, like you said. And so I think the first thing that we talked about was like, you know, our therapist would say, there's something on my partner's brake pedal. Like, what is that? And I think that was at least good, because then all these things started coming out that some of them I was aware of, some of them I was just completely oblivious to. And so, yeah, like we would try to touch on those things that was not helping her feel safe. But then at the same time, like they were giving us, she was giving us suggestions on like, okay, like once a week, I want you to do this with each other. Like, don't actually have sex, but like do this with each other, like each of you once a week. And like that lasted like 2 weeks. And my partner's like, I no, this, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Yeah.
It was like
And
basically like
you don't
anything
even have,
except sex.
it seems like she didn't even have the safety to try the remedy. That's it.
Yeah, like it worked. It happened for a couple weeks, and then it's like, no, like I don't like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
So,
well, there's books that you can read, there's other things that you can do. But I mean, it was kind of just like a venting session for her to really like share what she thought, and then there'd be very surviving approaches to like, well, you know, if things get bad, just walk out of the room so you don't blow up at her. Like, well, then she still knows that if I walk out of the room, I'm gonna blow up.
you're right.
So like her knowing, well, he's just going out there to do it doesn't change anything.
She still
Like I'm
feels very
still gonna
unsafe.
react that way. It's
Yeah.
just
She still feels
whether
very
it's not in
unsafe.
front of her or not, like I'm still doing it, and she knows that.
Yeah. So I think the one takeaway, the first takeaway I want people to have from this is, um, whatever issues you guys are having, whether that's your partner having a midlife crisis, you're having like extramarital affairs, you're having whatever your issues are, the issues are never really the issue itself. The issue is really always the lack of safety. You would often find that the reason why you are driven to do bad behaviors or your partner is driven to do bad behaviors is because it's a defense mechanism to protect yourself, to save yourself, to release yourself from something that you cannot express, you cannot resolve together, right? So some people are going through really intense moments in the relationship. I get it, but just understand that it didn't get intense overnight. It's usually get intense because like no safety, no safety, no safety. Then things pile up. And as things pile up, you do more crazy and crazy and crazy shit, right? Slowly. But what we always say too is once you can create that safety, you'll be shocked as to how much trust you can build in yourself, how much trust you can build in the other person too. And you'll be shocked at how much the other person's behavior can and will change. And you'll be shocked how much easier it would be for you to change your own behavior. So the cycle just goes in a positive direction. So, we've helped a lot of couples like go through kind of their infidelity issues, whatever it is, right? And the one thing they always say is like, and not to say you guys are having infidelity issues. I don't think you guys did, but we helped a lot of couples. Just as an example, the biggest fear they have is like, like, how do I trust my partner again to do this? Because like, I can't trust someone who does X, Y, Z, who does A, B, C. Well, if you fast forward a year later, 2 years later, I think they're both shocked as to how few toxic behaviors they both have, or how few temptations to do toxic behaviors they both have. Once that pipe of communication is clean to where I can express before things fester and I can resolve things before things fester. I have that safety to do so. It's fucking amazing. It's like, like punching a hole in like, this wound and all the pus comes out. It's like, oh, that's great. um, okay, so now you guys are, I mean, when you guys first started, do I understand right that she actually kicked you out of the house?
Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah. So she asked to be separated, and so the first night I spent a night at a hotel nearby, and was like, hey, so I'm gonna spend a night at a hotel, and then tomorrow, like if you want me to come back home, like I can. Like, yeah, okay. Like, or I can find like a different way to spend my nights places. And so to to no one's shock, like one night wasn't enough. So luckily, like my parents live pretty close by to where we are. And so I called them up and told them the situation and just, I need to live at your house for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I would come back home on the nights that my partner would work, so that we like wouldn't have to find a babysitter. So it's not that I was like completely shut out of like no contact or anything, but I was not staying overnight like the same nights that my partner would be there.
Yeah.
It was purely just to like take care of our daughter, and like be co-parents, just living at different places.
And now you're home for the last, you said, month and a half?
About that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so we had been making schedules. So like my partner's been very detailed about her work schedule and like everything on her calendar. So then we started adding like nights that I would be home, nights that I wouldn't be at home. And we did that for several months. And then yeah, as things just progressed within myself and as like I was growing, like she called me one day at work and had FaceTimed me with her and my daughter. And I was like, okay, well, like I'll see you tomorrow because I'm gonna spend the night at my parents' tonight. And she's like, what do you think? Yeah, do you think Daddy should be home tonight? And my daughter's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, like how about you just come home tonight?
yeah. And
Like,
I think
wow,
there
like
was there
okay.
was one story you were sharing too about how like you were leaving. I don't know where, but like you were leaving, but then she was actually crying when you were leaving because she was like, "Man, we had such a good time. Like I don't want you to leave actually."
Yeah,
What was that about?
yeah. So that was I don't fully remember like the situation of why I was home all weekend, but I was like I think I had been home like Friday, Saturday, and then that Sunday is when I was going back to my parents. And she was comfortable enough to like, she said she needed to go to the store, and I just offered like, hey, if you want to go with just our daughter, that's totally fine. But like I'd be happy to come with you too if you want, because we'd been starting to do like a few things together. So I just kind of tossed it out there,
Mm.
and yeah, she said that she'd love to go. Well, as first, I remember now. So I said I need to go to the pet store to get some supplies, and that like I knew like the pet store, like, oh, my partner loves animals like more than anything. I was like, it was kind of sneaky. It was like, I'm going to the pet store. Like, do you want to come with me? If not, like that's totally fine. She's like, yeah, like I've got a few errands to run over there as well. Um, so we like spent the whole day together at the pet store and at like the salon store. Went out and like got some dinner that night, came home, like
Mm.
played games, the next day. Um, kind of more of the same, just being at the house together. And
Yeah.
then but then I got our schedule. I was supposed to be at home at my parents that night. So I just said my goodbyes, gave her a hug, but like our hugs, I guess were brief, just like, oh, like care about you, goodbye. you know. So I'd given her a hug and let go, and she's like still like very tightly holding on. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just go with this. And then she let go and just yeah, had tears coming down her face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like talk to me, like what's going on? And she just said like, I just said like I had so much fun with you today, and I'm like, I don't know what to feel. I'm so frustrated. I'm so happy. I'm so sad. It's like every emotion that I could possibly feel is coming out right now.
Yeah.
It's like I think I'm just angry because like this felt like it was just so easy and so quick for you. Like where was this like years ago?
Are you pissed at yourself or taking so long
Like
to change?
yeah, like of course, like if I were to look at myself then and like now, it's like there are so many opportunities I had in the past where like red lights were flashing and you just kind of tuck them away and just hope that it gets better. And so,
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? And I want to go to my first kind of like key takeaway here for people. It's like, and I want to talk about kind of your experience in the program and why this program was able to like create that change within you so quickly. And we talk about this notion of, you know, this is not like a business course or a technical course where you and I can look at the problem together and go like, that's the problem, right? This is a very soft, emotional problem that is usually hiding beneath a lot of blind victim, a lot of blindness, a lot of blind spots, a lot of denial. And the analogy I give for people is, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, and I'm sure you too, you deal with some family, you deal with some people with some form of addiction, right? Have you ever had an intervention with people like that and try to get them to realize just how serious their problem is? Try to wake them up a bit, right? And how much like suffering they're creating within themselves, with it to other people, right? How much they're harming their health, whatever it is. It's pretty fucking hard. If the person doesn't want to see it, they don't want to see it. No
yeah.
matter what you say, no matter what you tell them. They won't, and then you're wondering, going like, how do you not see this? And so a lot of people who fall for the victim mindset, who fall for, you know, a lot of the key paradigm issues that we talk about are kind of the same thing where, you, for example, you were exposed to again like all the red flags, but you didn't do anything about it because again, you didn't want to see beneath that all that blind spots, all that denial, stuff like that, right? Why do you think, if you could look back, why do you think you kept yourself so blind from it? What were you telling yourself? What victim mindsets did you have that kept you so blind to it?
Yeah, I mean, again, like blaming my partner was a big one because like I could identify like some surface level things like, okay, like I got mad at her, that's bad. Like I shouldn't do that again. Or yeah, just like some really obvious ones. But like I think I would like kind of compare myself to like the golden couples, like the ones that are super happy and they're like being there for each other and picking up where one may have like, you know, not able to give themselves fully in that area. It's like an equal partnership, a team really.
Mm,
And like we were very much not that. Um, and I would, yeah, I would put a lot of that on her. Again, just like trying to keep the house clean. Like that was something very important to me. And when she grew up, like it just wasn't something as important to her to um, keep like the space like completely tidy. And
yeah,
so we just had like different upbringings that way. And I would point the finger at her like all the time. And I thought I was justified in that because it's like, well, of course, like both of us should be helping them that way. Like both of us should be doing this. Like, why is it just me? And so, well, yeah, like it was bad for me to get after her. I always felt like I was completely justified because I thought like I was doing more than what was required of me.
yeah. And we go back to this rewards versus punishment paradox thing where we always say like, you know, while playing victim gets you to a very, very bad spot in your life always, they sort of like satisfy you in a very sick way temporarily. So, for example, if I'm talking to a couple uh who's dealing with like infidelity issues, right? The person who got cheated on usually want to blame the other person and just make it black and white like that. Why? Because they can say, "Oh, the reason why we're fighting right now is because of him. He cheated.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything, right?" But then usually once the conversation starts, we realize like, wait, yeah, he cheated, but you also did a lot of things to destroy the safety, to make him so pent up, to destroy his safety, to drive him fucking crazy. You also did that. So you also did betray the relationship. Now, a lot of people, they don't want to take that because now if I point out the problems and they admit the problems, now they're like, oh, wait. Now you're saying it's not all, I'm not absolved of wrongdoings here. And now that I know the problems, I actually need to do some work. Well, fuck that, right? So playing victim is good because like it absolves you of doing work, it absolves you of guilt, absolves you of thinking, absolves you of like reflection, because you can just blame it all on the other person. But not playing victim, playing the hero is very difficult because now you're like, oh, I admit this. It's very it trips your guilt a bit. But right, short term, playing victim rewards you, playing non-victim punishes you. But long term, very different story. Playing victim punishes you. Not playing non-victim rewards you in the long term. Um, and I think that was, if you could look at the allure of why you stuck for so long in the blind victim, is you tell yourself all these stories to absolve you of the guilt you would feel, the ownership, the responsibility. And that felt good. So you're like, oh, that feels good. That's right. So you don't give it another thought. You're like, okay, whatever. Bye. Right. So you just kind of sweep it under the rug in a way, and you just compounds and compounds and compounds, right? And you
Yeah,
said
like,
go ahead. Sorry.
oh, it's okay. I just one other thing that I thought of when you're saying that is, she would come to me a lot and tell me things that was challenging for her that I was doing.
Mm.
And she'd ask me to change. And like my response, like every time was like, okay, like I understand that, but like if I'm being honest, there's some things like I want you to do too. And
Yeah, I
it
did
was
that
never
too.
a thing where like, okay, like I get that. Like I can work on that. It was always like, well, like I'm kind of doing this because you're doing this too. And there was never, it was like half-ass ownership. And that I did that for so many years. It
Yeah.
was
I did it
always like
so
something you
often
can do
too.
too.
Yeah, I did it so often too. Like every time my partner, my wife would like tell me something I need to do better, I need to improve. It feels like this compulsion to like tell her something she needs to improve to. Like just for her to tell me what to improve and just say like for me to go, okay, I'll think about it. It feels so wrong to me. I'm like, no, it's too one-sided. No, I have to say something back. Like, but now that I've developed this non-victim mindset, and whenever she tells me something, I'm like, okay, you'd be shocked. Let me do
Right.
it. And every time I do it though, every time I follow through, I'm always shocked at how much she follows through without even me needing to say it. Because at the end of the day, like you start to realize like your partner really does want the best, want to be the best for you. Like she really does. And I think that's the key realization that a lot of people need to have, right? It's like when your partner is to the point where she's so checked out, so toxic, it's not that she's toxic, but it's usually that you've made it so hard for her to be nice to you.
Yeah. Oh, for
Right?
sure.
And once you recreate the environment, you'll be shocked as to like how much change that creates in their behavior too. Um, you said also the worksheets, the exercises that we give around the victim mindset specifically, really helped you. And like, because we always say, right, the reason why we give a lot of tough love sometimes, a lot of wake up calls, the reason why we coach the way we do is because like we understand that this is a journey in which you need to see through your own bullshit yourself. We cannot point that out for you. The same way, like I can tell the addict, like, hey, dude, this is killing you. They're never gonna realize it. They need to realize it themselves. What was the things in the program that really helped you to realize the gravity of your situation, to wake up and go like, okay, let's cut through all the fucking bullshit I've been telling myself and let's reframe everything.
Yeah, I think I kind of go back to the worksheet because that's really like the first really experience of like doing the work in this program. And like the questions are framed in a way that unless you're just being completely dishonest with yourself, like it's so apparent of the wrongdoings that you were behaving in for so long. And so that just caused like a deep self-reflection of realizing like everything I was doing was the wrong way of doing it.
Hmm.
And like how you've said in the program, like when you kind of you'll have like an old way of thinking, and if you realize the absurdity and the ridiculousness of it, your mind can like detach from the old. But then like where does it go for the new? And I think the worksheets detached me from the old.
Mm.
It's like I never want to be like that again. Like I can't be like that again. And then as we like learn into the reinterpretations of how to attach to the new self, like that's really where we can thrive, and where there's really like no temptation anymore to fall into those old victim mindsets that I had just plagued my life for years and years and years.
So if you were to talk to someone who hasn't joined the program, let's say, because sometimes like we get people who say like, because I think before even joining the program, you knew about the victim mindset. You knew that victim mindsets weren't cool. Maybe you didn't call it that, but you knew about it. So you knew it
Yeah.
conceptually. But what about the program's approach helped you finally see it for its absurdity, the victim mindset? Because you knew it conceptually. Like you read books, you went to therapy. I'm sure you knew this.
Yeah.
What tipped it over the edge for you?
Um, yeah, I think maybe in the past, like I would just kind of take a stab at it, and try to fix it once. And if it didn't work, just kind of give up.
Uh,
And so like the process of success within the program of like iterating multiple times. And the first time that I did it, it's like I understood how absurd it was to like fall for this. And I posted my work, and it's like, no, this isn't good enough. Like you can do better. And it's like you keep iterating that and just continue to build on it. And I think I had to go through like 8 or 9 tries
yeah.
before the coaches were really like, okay, like I really think that you can go with this now. And yeah, I think in the past, like I identify what was wrong, but then I never knew what to do. It's
Yeah,
like
I
I was
think
never
that's it,
given
right?
like
It's
a
like,
learning process of really like how to take this and build on it.
and this really helps us to understand like what we need to do more of and what we need to do less of as coaches, because, again, I think because the whole nature of this journey is to dive deeper to those victim mindsets, to those beneath those blind spots and the denial that you have. The first time you do it, the first time you like say like, oh, do you see how this victim illusion is killing you, for example? You may only go to like level 3.
Yeah.
But really, you're at level 25 victim here, right? So level 3, you need someone there to push you to go like, no, no, no. Level 3, there's something more, bro. Level 5. Okay, there's something
Yeah.
more, bro. Like, trust me. And you go level 8 and you keep diving deeper. Because like there are a lot of people in the program, and you see this sometimes. They're given the same worksheets as you, but they're not even willing to go a little bit deep, right? They don't even think about like, oh, maybe I do have these. Some people even claim when they join the program, like, I don't have any victim mindsets. What do I do? Like, no, that's no fucking way, right? Uh, did you personally have some resistance when you were doing that worksheet? Because, like you said, when you do that worksheet, you do have to confront some very, very tough realities about the absurdity of your behavior, the toxicity of it, realities that a lot of people have a hard time swallowing sometimes. So did you have resistance towards that worksheet at any point, or did you just say like, I'm fucking all in?
Yeah, I mean, I, I, I did kind of approach that I wanted to be all in. um, it's not that I like never like tried to avoid the work in the worksheet, or like
Hmm.
I think first like I would answer the questions and then think like, cool, like I've got answers on every one. Like this is great. Post it in. It's like, well, like this is so shallow. Like you can go deeper than this. And I think it was like the second or third time I got feedback where like for the first time really in my life, I think like it caused that deep self-reflection that I just never done before.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be all in, and I thought that I was doing it like the first couple times, but then it just became very clear that like these were habits that I had created my whole life too, that just get very surface level. And if I've got a checkbox next to it and it's good enough to move on. And like the program has also taught me that um yeah, like it takes many, many times of being antithetic about what you're doing. Like, could this be wrong? Like, is there something kind of weird going on here?
Yeah.
Like actually taking the time to think about that. It's like, if it's yes, then like do something about it. Don't just like ignore it. And I think I just ignored it for so many times where the red flags would come and like, well, like, I don't know. Well,
So
it's good.
that's
So
the hard part, I think, for us being coaches is because I remember when we saw you struggling, we wanted to come in and help. We wanted to go like, here's your answer, right? Think about this, or do this, do that. But our answers, if you notice, were always very vague. We're always saying to you like, there's something more. Here's some
yeah,
hints, right? I want you to find it, kind of thing. Um, but the problem is like, as coaches, like once you see someone struggling and you rescue someone, like I use a spotter analogy, right? If you like are a spotter for someone who's doing bench presses, for example, if you see them struggling and you rescue them right away, right? And you keep doing that, that person will never progress. That person will never get better because the reason why you got into the where you are is because like you said, right? You try to go like 5 levels deep, it got challenging, and you straight away gave up. Basically, you gave up after you hit a certain level of challenge. But because you gave up after you hit a certain level of challenge, you never was able to push yourself past to grow whatever skills you're trying to grow. And so when we rescue you too early, we also are preventing you from growing, right? And I know that's what you want.
yeah,
And some people get so pissed at us for not rescuing them when they want to be rescued, but we're like, no, we cannot do that. As coaches, we cannot do that. You can get pissed at me all you want. We cannot do that. Now, the beautiful part about your story is like you recognized that that was a problem with you, right? So you saw the coaches not helping and you didn't paint the coaches as the villain. You said like, no, they're right. I need to do this myself. I can do this myself. And you broke through and you broke through a new level and a new level and a new level. That's fucking beautiful, right? That's good. So kudos.
yeah, and it's leaking into like all different areas of my personal life too, like not just my relationship, but in like activities and hobbies that I've always wanted to try and be good at. Like for like golf, for example, is a big one for me right now. And I always knew like there's something weird with my golf swing. I always would be relying on like one of my friends to tell me what was wrong. And I think that over time that just kind of annoyed him. And it's like, why am I always like have to spoon feed you everything?
Yeah.
And so now like, yeah, with like POSing in the program, like I've been able to do things on my own and like deconstruct my own problems with my golf swing. And like right now, like I'm gonna be worse because there's a lot of things I'm changing. But like I know like fundamentally that's the way to do it and I'm gonna stick with it. And and like I would fully expect that results to come like as I'm sticking with that. But it's just an example is just like it's more than just my relationship right now where my life has been boosted. It's just like everywhere and it's
Yeah.
great. It's like so freeing. It's so happy.
I'm jealous because you're in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Must have some great golf courses there.
Um,
Like scenery must be freaking beautiful, no?
yeah, if you get into like there's a lot of courses like in Park City in the mountains that are awesome.
Yeah.
I typically have like stayed in like the local courses.
Okay, okay.
Um, like I'm in the valley.
I
They're
see.
they're easy.
Yeah.
But no, there's some pretty awesome views. I always wanted to golf like on the beach, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Um, the other thing I want to talk about too is also so just to recap that point, right, is the blind victim thing. Is the reason why we coach the way we do is because like, the term blind victim, victims are always blind. And unless there is a big disruptor, a pattern interrupt, either through a form of a coach, a program that can interrupt your victim patterns, you will never see it. Because the pattern of victim is very circular, right? So, for example, for you back then, you know, you played victim and whenever something happens, you blame your partner, right? So you blame your partner. And so for example, like, oh, you don't want to have sex? You blame your partner. This is your fault. Well, what happens when you do that? Your partner wants even less sex. So when you see that, you interpret it to your blind victim again, and you say, "See, I told you the problem is her."
Yeah.
And this just circle jerk of your victim mindset just keeps happening over and over and over again, and no one can wake you up. And the reason why so many alcoholics, so many drug addicts, so many, you know, people with bad relationships who are stuck into the victim mindset, they can never break through, is because they keep convincing themselves of how their victim mindset is correct over and over and over again. So just to close off this point, be very careful of that, right? And you want to have a coach, you want to have a therapist, you want to have a book, you want to have something in your life to be able to cut through your own fucking bullshit. And for some of you guys, right, that bullshit layer has been growing so deep to the point where even sometimes I cannot even break through to you, right? To you guys sometimes. It's like I cannot even say anything. You are so, like, you have your tinfoil, your layers of tinfoil is so big, nothing can penetrate anymore. It's just like, oh my God, whatever then, right? So just be careful of that. Number two is, you said one of the biggest, most important thing that was great for you was how the program taught you how to learn again. In what way would you say?
Just kind of giving the principles and tools of actually how to do it. And I think not that I my background is like an engineer, so like I know that I've had to learn, you know, to get through schooling and get to the job and stuff, and have the career I have right now. But I even like look back at some of the things that I fell into in the past, and it was like relying on other people to like help me learn and kind of like do things for me. Um, and I think like I don't know, part of like the program for me is almost like it's amazing how it just seems like that you've been viewing my life from like this hidden area, and like the things that you say like in your modules and in the looms and on YouTube and all that, like it's almost like you've been watching me from a distance and like know everything that I've been doing. And so there's just certain things that speak to me that's like, oh my gosh, like that is me.
Yeah.
And so there's like there's warnings in the program, there's common pitfalls that you might experience, and it's like, oh, okay, like I've done that, like I've fallen for that. And now that like I know what to look out for, I can do this. Like the paradox of change, within like myself and within like people that I communicate with, and you know, my partner and others. It's like that was like such a resonating topic for me, because as soon as things got hard, like I'd give up. As soon as like I was trying to change and it would be difficult to change, like I would give up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for the
Yeah.
paradox of change section. Uh,
So
why do you think though, like, because like sometimes, from a coach's perspective, I ask myself this question is like, there's guys like you who come to the program and you just see just how, like, you just pick things up fast. Like it's almost like you hang on to every word I say, you don't take what I say for granted, and you do the work. What is that? Like, what differentiates you, you think, from another client that you might see who is taking the same program as you, getting the same coaching as you, getting the same worksheets as you, getting the same daily practice process as you, but you can take the same materials and build an Eiffel Tower with it, and this guy just built a stick figure. What is it you think that differentiates your approach from maybe another person's?
yeah, I think I think victim mindsets certainly play a part in that, of just, you know, it's too hard, I don't want to do the work. And like doing the work is like, I mean, that's how you grow. Like there's not really a way around it. And so just feeling like it's hard, or feeling like, you know, this is, you know, my situation is unique, like I can't this won't
Mm.
work for me. It just like prevents you from doing that. But also, I think for me, it was like, I don't have a fucking choice. It's like, if I don't do the work, how is my life ever going to get better? How is my partner like ever going to see the changes if I like don't do anything about it?
Yeah.
And so,
I think that's it. I think you hit on two key reasons, I think. And I'm wondering to see if there's more, but like number one is I think you, like me, when you joined a program, when I started this program, or when I started to like do these things, I already felt the pain. I already felt the pain of what I was, of what I was, the life I was living. And I always told to myself, like, no, I will do anything to not feel that ever again. Right. But for some people in the program, or so for some people in relationship issues, this could be the first time they have relationship issues. This could be the early stages of their relationship issues, and sometimes like they don't have that pain to be strong enough to be like, "Ooh, So they see the program, for example, it's like, "Oh my God, this is a lot of work," right? And they're still wondering, okay, so sure, what I'm going through is painful, but this is even more painful. I'm okay with this one, right? I'll stay with this pain for a bit. But then the pain keeps intensifying, which is why we get a lot of people sometimes going a year or 2 years later going like, oh my God, the pain is so strong. I got to do this program now. So the pain has to be strong. So sometimes we get people emailing us saying like, hey, you guys work with people who are in very dire straits. Well, my situation is not that dire. Can I work with you guys? I'm like, what? Like this is going like someone going, okay, so I know people who with stage 4 cancer usually goes to like an oncologist. I'm at stage 1 cancer. Should I go to an oncologist? Yes. Yes. But the question is not whether you should go or not, but whether you see the value in it, right? Sometimes you don't see the value in an oncologist until you're stage 3 or stage 4 kind of thing, when things are really painful, right? So yes, we would love you to take you if you're not at a dire state. In fact, it'll be easier for you. But usually, whenever we take people who are not in a dire state, they don't have the hunger, they don't have that drive to do the work. That's the problem. And the second thing too is also like the victim mindset, right? Of telling yourself your situation is unique, whatever. It's stories you tell yourself. And what's what's funny is like again going back to the conversation before, some people's victim mindsets are so strong that they cannot even do the work to get rid of that victim mindset in the first place. They have so much victim mindset that prevents them from doing the work to get rid of the victim mindset. It's just, oh my God, I don't know what to do with you. You know,
yeah,
like it's like seeing a fat person who's like so fat that they cannot even get up to go to the gym. Like, I don't know what to do with you then. Like, it's impossible. you know?
yeah.
um,
Yeah,
um,
and I think
mm,
I so just a side note to that, when my partner separated with me, one like exactly 1 week from that day, we had scheduled to go to the Caribbean. And so it was like, well, we leave on this trip in like a week. Like let's still go. Of course that didn't happen. um but like it was with my parents. They had kind of arranged, had some extra space in like a condo they were staying at, so it was my parents and it was going to be us, so it was just me that went with them. And like to your point about the pain, that was painful. Like going on a trip that we've been looking forward to for so long, and like it was just like with my parents, and I was just like a bum the whole time. But like having that vacation, just really like caused me to sit in my thoughts. And like, yeah, I mean, you talk about pain, like that was probably like peak painful feelings for me, that like
yeah.
I didn't want to do that anymore. So it's like I came back from that and really like picked up the YouTube stuff, and then it's like I got to do something about this because this sucks. And so like I did have a lot of times to really self-reflect and think about that. And yeah, like that pain drove me to take action. And then when you do like that deeper analysis of yourself when the program starts, like that's even more pain and like more like regret of what you've done your whole life. And so yeah, like when your mind like detaches from that old, it's like I gotta do something now because I don't want to go back to that.
We talk about this a lot as coaches too, because a lot of people, as you can imagine, like don't like us sometimes for how much pain we ask you to feel. Through either through tough love, either through like the program curriculum itself, or the realizations that we try to get you to make. We force you to confront a lot of pain sometimes, but then again, like that pain is necessary. That pain is a necessary part of growth. There's a really great quote that Jason told me this morning during a one-on-one, and it's like, let me see, okay, let me read it to you exactly. Okay, here. So it says like hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create difficult times. Right? So sometimes like we need to create the hard times for you to make you stronger, to make you realize, because without that, there's no catalyst for you guys to grow. And if you hate us for doing that, if you hate the coaches for doing that, then you're basically saying like, I don't want a hard time. Basically, you're also saying, I don't want to grow. I don't want to become stronger. It's like, okay, that's up to you then, you know? But then on this note, right, tangentially, because we're actually having our first baby in late this year.
Oh, congrats. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But then my wife and I were always talking about like, well, you know, this is kind of a weird thing because okay, we grew up in hard times. And because we grew up in hard times, we are strong men and women. And because we're strong men and women, now our times are easy. Our life is quite easy right now. But do we want to make our kids' life easy? I don't know. Right? So we talk about the money and how we want to like figure out how to divvy up the money and how to like, you know, create this sense of like hard times in our children to make sure like, hey, let's give them that hunger, that innate hunger. And we're kind of debating that right now because I don't know, right? But it's interesting like
Yeah.
this. But the takeaway for a lot of you guys, again, like just to get back to the point here is, you know, the best learners are usually the people who are the most humble, and the people who are the most humble usually have felt the pain. So
Yeah.
allow yourself to feel the pain, be humble, really introspect, and really be honest with yourself. Don't look at things from the victim mindset. Really look at the harsh truth about your life and really do it. And then once you look at the harsh truth, you're humble enough, you need to get rid of their victim mindset because again, right? Victims can be surrounded in solutions, but they will never see it. They will never see it because they never look for it. So if you never get rid of the victim mindset, you will never see the solutions that are actually you're drowning in. And I think the other thing that you did really good on, Brett, and I'm going to share my screen a bit. I'm going to show people kind of like your activity in the Facebook group because it's kind of interesting for me, if it's okay with you,
Yeah.
right? So look at this, okay? So if you look at Brett's post history, this is in what, 4 months? Jesus Christ. You should be fucking proud of yourself. This is a shit ton of work you're doing. Shit ton of like POSing, shit ton of iteration. I mean, I'm still scrolling here, my God. Right? But what's also interesting is I want you to see this, okay? I want you to see this is so of course like day one, November 21st, but I want you to see the first TTH that you did, for example. I mean, this face just looks like such a defeated man right here. Like shit, man. But then you scroll up, look, you're looking so much better. Every time you're just looking a lot more like confident. I mean, you can see how your feelings just change, you know, from the
Yeah.
oh my god to where it is now. It's great, dude.
Oh, thank you.
It's great. Um, and I think that
Still a lot more to do though, right?
still a lot more to do, but I think what
Yeah.
you have done really great is which is the third thing I think that allows you to learn really much faster is we talk about kind of like understanding the principles, the what, how, and why behind the principles you're learning. And just by showing you kind of like how much work you do, and I mean, like, you know, you understand the what, how, and why. So I think when people first join, they have a certain idea of what this program is. okay, I know it's gonna be challenging, but it can't be that challenging. But people come in and they realize like, oh shit, oof, this is like really challenging. And so it's almost that Dunning-Kruger effect where before you do something, you think, oh, it's kind of easy. But then when you first do it, you're like, oh my God, this is really hard. Right. So the more you learn, the more you don't know sometimes.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I think now you're on the uptick again where like, I think I know some stuff. Right. But that dip is really hard and where a lot of people give up. But that dip is everything, right? My wife is starting her own coaching business now. And for the first year, she had it rough, man. Like, before she started the coaching business, I told her, Sam, it's gonna be pretty hard. Like, in a coaching business, for example, you're not selling a product. You're selling your soul. You're selling your mind. You're selling yourself. So when you get hate comments, they're not saying they hate your product. They're saying they hate you as a fucking human being. It's personal. And she goes, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But now she's doing it and she's like, oh my God, this is so much more than I thought. And now she's starting to understand a lot of the things that I was trying to tell her. Right. Same thing for my wedding dance. I looked at this wedding dance, 2.5 minutes. I can do it, Sam. Right. And then she's like, Jeff, we need to do this 8 weeks before. It's like, what? I can learn this in a weekend. Come on. Then I tried to dance. I was like, oh my God, they're not just moving around, they're box stepping. I don't know how to do that. Right. So it's just like all these little things. So when people join the program, you're going to feel like, oh my God, it's hard. But during that point, right, what you need to do, which is what you did, was you need to double down and say, okay, it's hard, it's challenging, I'm not understanding it. So let me deconstruct the program even more to allow me to understand it even more. Right. And I think you built that with your mental map. And so the reason why we teach people how to create the mental map and learn the different ways is that this is complex, but we're going to help you to do everything we can to make this as as easy, as simple as possible by organizing your mind via your notes kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the mental map or like what your opinions were of that?
Yeah, so my thoughts on it, like mental map for me was like, oh my gosh, like what is that? And it's like, I mean, it's essentially like you're taking the notes within the program, and it's like, so for me, it's like, okay, like I took a lot of notes in college and high school, and those notes like helped me figure out solutions to problems, and so it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's easy. But then like I would think it's like, well, there's a certain point with my mental map that's like, there's a lot of shit on here. And then you always tell us it's like you'll have like your mental map debt if you don't address it. And so the first time for me, it was like, there's a lot of just fluff in here. And then I think it's like, well, this is because, again, like I'm bringing those old habits into the program as I start. And like my notes in college were like so hard to follow sometimes. And and it was hard. And so then yeah, I kind of looked to get bailed out by somebody. And so as like on the mental map, it's like it can be really hard if you don't like understand what it's for, if you don't understand how to use it. And like once you understand how to do that, it it's like you and the coach always said, like it's a checklist. It's like you have a
Yeah.
problem to solve, and so you can't expect to like solve a math problem without any notes or any learning beforehand. It's like you use your math notes as like a checklist. It's like, okay, so I do that step and I do that step, and if I'm wrong, it's like, what step did I miss? And
Just go
you
back to the
just,
checklist. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so it was
The
easy
way
for me to like understand the concept of it, but it was difficult for me to like constrain my thinking and not just have everything that I like possibly ever thought of just like throw into it.
yeah.
And
The way we think about it is, I talk about the coaches with this, with the other coaches too, is the mental map is almost like it's a representation of your mind. If your
yeah,
mental map is messy, your mind is messy. And so I akin it to like your house, right? Sometimes. So, you know, we live in a world now where we get so many fucking boxes, right? Every month we get all these boxes from Amazon and everything is boxes, boxes, boxes. So, one way to deal with the boxes is whenever we get an incoming box, we just take it out and then we just like store all the stuff in the box, like just off to the side. Or we can say, okay, every time the box comes in, I'm going to unbox it. I'm going to put it in the recycling bin. I'm going to put the stuff and put it in the respective cupboards and stuff like that. The second approach is hard to do, right? Every time you get a package, it's like, oh my God, I got to do all these steps. But it makes it so much easier for you in the long run, right? But the first step is easy to do. It's like, okay, I just need to like stuff the boxes there, whatever, frick it. But you're creating debt for yourself for the long run because eventually you're gonna have so much stuff, disorganized stuff. You're like, oh my God, I gotta take a whole day to do it, right? Your mental map is the same thing. Like whenever people learn something, right? They don't take the time to like think about what they learned, to make sure to fully digest it, the what, how, and why, to properly file it in their mental map, ergo their mind as well, relate it to other things. They don't do that. They just stuff all in and go like, I'll just think about it later. But it's like, no, if you do that, yes, it's easy to do that, but you're gonna make it really hard for yourself later. And what you did really well, Brett, is you listened to us and you basically said like, okay, I'm not gonna let my debt accrue too much. I'm gonna take the hard road now to make it easier for me later, right? More people need to take that choice. You know?
Yeah, and it's like you can either take 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, to organize, or like you said, it's 5 hours in 2 months
It's
from now.
painful. The 5 hours is painful, right?
Yeah. And if you're
Like,
using your mental map like every day, like to try and deconstruct and really like think about each bucket, like that also like forces you to like use your mental map and think about like, okay, is this like hard for me to do? Like, is this confusing? And then again, it's like trying to think antithetically, like
yeah.
something wrong with my mental map because this is just really difficult. And like just I think by using it every day, like you can answer that question for yourself.
Yeah.
And that will like also like drive you to want to improve it, to want to constrain everything. Like if you're never using it, then yeah, like nothing's ever going to change. This is going to be just a giant mess. Like the more you use it though, I think the better that you can refine it and just make it easier for yourself.
And I think some people here may be confused about why we're talking about how to learn in a program that's about relationships. But it's so crucial, right? Because again, all of you guys are here because obviously you haven't learned the things you need to learn to lead your relationship, right? And is it because life hasn't really given you the lessons? No. It's because life has been giving you the lessons, but you didn't know how to learn it. You didn't know how to construct a learning from it, right? So when you learn how to learn, getting success from the program, whether mine or any program, doesn't become a matter of when, or doesn't become a matter of if, but when.
Yeah.
Because like you can grow so fast, you can learn any skill you want, you can grow in whatever ways you want, which is why our program, right? We spend so long teaching people how to learn this skill, which is a very soft skill, a very emotional skill, which is different than learning a hard skill. And the reason why we get people like you, right, who are engineers, people like me, who are like data scientists, who for the life of you, you cannot figure out this shit, this softer skill stuff. It's not because you're dumb, but because you haven't learned a different way for you to reliably, to scientifically learn a soft, abstract skill. That's a hard part, right? And that's what we're trying to teach you to do. So don't discount that part. If whether you're looking for a program, whatever it is, I want you to look for a solution that teaches you how to learn these soft skills. Because if you don't, again, you can be reading all these books. You're not gonna make sense of it. You're not gonna understand how to master it, really.
Mhm.
Um, Next point is really about like everything goes back to safety issues. Um, how soon did this realization come for you,
Um,
or how slowly?
Probably honestly, probably in the YouTube videos when you're talking about the 5 pillars. So like the base layer of emotional safety. And I didn't quite like understand what that really meant.
Mhm.
Um, but like I had ideas about it, and like probably getting mad at your partner and blaming them for stuff is not a great way to create emotional safety. So like at least I had that part down.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I like safety was just kind of a new word for me, honestly. Like just watching the YouTube videos, and then um, I remember like the masterclass video that you try to direct people to, like dove into that more. And I think that resonated with me because it's like, well, my relationship is not great right now. And like this is the one thing that I just haven't thought about.
Yeah.
And so, it's been talked about so many times in your videos, like this has got to be the missing link that I just have never discovered throughout my life.
Yeah.
And so,
One sec. I'm just
and
taking some
my,
notes myself. One sec.
oh
I
yeah.
don't want to forget to bring up this thing. So, yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And like my partner, I think she's done a tremendous job of um like in her own work for herself and her therapy. Like it's nothing that I would like expect her or like tell her or ask of her. She's just taken it upon herself that she wants to improve like certain areas of her life and understand her, like some of the mental illnesses that she suffers from, like trying to understand those better. So
Mm.
I think she's had like a really strong grasp of what like boundaries and safety and topics like that I never took the time to learn about. Like
Yeah.
I think she had a good grasp on that. So like those were easy things for her to spot as I started progressing the program. And those were like just it's like she knew what those things were. And so as I started to show that, those started to resonate with her.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing like how quickly things changed between us.
I'm always amazed too. But I think the problem is like a lot of people, they understand safety conceptually. And I think before you join the program, you understand safety conceptually, right? But let's talk about like why safety is crucial first. Okay. And the reason why we say everything goes back to safety is if you look back, anyone who's listening, challenge yourself with this. Take whatever you guys are struggling with, whether that's affairs, trust issues, sex issues, admiration issues, um, toxicity issues, whatever it is. Would those still be issues if you both can talk about it, resolve it, grow from it, move on from it? No? So now let's look at how your relationship broke down, right? If you guys had the ability to talk about whatever issues before it gets pent up, do you think you both will be feeling so angry with so much baggage, with so much pent up stuff? No. So you fix this, you fix everything, right? Just like you. You fix this, you fix everything. So if you look at any of our client stories and interviews, they all have very unique problems, sure. But I don't care what your unique problems are. You create safety, you fix everything. That's it. Because it's about the trajectory, right? It's like your partner gives up on you not because of the problems, but because there's the problems, but there's not any semblance of hope or any trajectory to say this is gonna get better in the future. But once they see, okay, we're still fucked right now, but it's getting a lot better, they're like, yeah, I'll stay. Yeah, because this is the person like you have probably spent godless amount of hours dreaming about a future with your partner, dreaming about your partner, and your partner's done the same thing for you.
Mhm.
So I mean, like the universe wants you guys to succeed, but you need to create the safety to allow the environment where growth can happen. That's it. Um, so why safety is hard though is safety is a very falling thing. It's a very falling outcome, right? So sometimes as men, we have a very striving mindset. And so for people to understand the striving and falling, imagine, in life, right? You can go to the gym. That's a striving thing. The more willpower you exert to lifting that weight, the more weight you press up, right? Right. But then with falling stuff, it's the opposite. The more willpower you exert to it, the less it happens. Sleep is a perfect example of this. The more you try and force yourself to sleep, the less it happens. So the problem is that a lot of men try to create safety by forcing safety to happen. And if safety doesn't happen right away, you get pissed off at it. Like you, for example, right? If let's say, right, in movies, the trope is when when a person has a secret and they finally tell the secret, and the partner gets mad. How come you didn't tell me this earlier? Right? Like the those people don't understand that safety is a very falling thing. Because what they're doing is like they're trying to force the person to go like, next time, please tell me earlier. Tell me earlier. Like communicate with me. Share with me. Like, why don't you have the safety to share with me? Well, saying that is not going to create more safety. It's actually going to create less safety.
Yeah.
So another example of this, right, is like my partner was saying something to me, like a problem. It wasn't about me, but it was like a problem at work or something like that, or at the house. And she was expressing it, and then I started to fix the problems for her. And in my male brain, I'm like, oh, if I fix the problems for her, that must create safety for her, because next time she would want to share the problems. But the implication she took was, oh, Sam is someone who can't like fix things on her own. She always needs me to fix things for her. She's so incapable. She actually felt less safety. So not only is safety hard because it's a falling outcome, and it's really sometimes like very paradoxical in the ways we create safety, but also sometimes with the paradoxes, there are moments when we would think we're creating safety, but we're actually destroying it more. And I think that's what you're starting to discover too, is like, ooh, that's actually a lot of paradoxes behind creating safety that I need to understand before I can master it. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, like I was totally like where you're describing, where yeah, like it just made me think of my partner was, she would always hold things in. And I would be like, I sensed something was wrong. It's like, come on, like I know something's wrong. Like I know you can't hide it. Like tell me, like you really want to just hold it in forever, and then later on, like it's gonna blow up like it always does. Like, come on. And then she'd tell me, and yeah, like nothing changed. It's not like that like made her feel more comfortable to talk to me
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like just the more you push it, the more you force it, it's like it's never gonna happen. Like I remember on one of my reinterpretations, like I had kind of thought about um like an animal, like in the
Mm.
wild, maybe like a rodent, for example, or something, where you're super interested in like seeing this animal in the wild. And the more that you approach it, the more that you like check on it, it's just gonna go deeper into hiding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, like come on. And then you take a step back, and then it like eventually comes out of the hole, and then you're like there again, and then goes
Yeah,
deeper.
it goes away again. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, as you just like kind of just let go of that, it's like, like I can't control this. I'm just gonna do like what I can do. And eventually, like that animal will come out again. And like as long as you give it like the proper amount of safe space for it to operate in its normal life, like you'll have the reward of seeing it. And
That's a beautiful
this is like a
analogy.
great example for me to think about, like with urgency. It's like, oh, come on, no, no, no. It's like, no, like you got to take a step back and like do what you can do. And if there's no pressure applied, then like that's just a very freeing way of living
Yeah.
for somebody on the receiving end of that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't know if that if that answers kind of what you're thinking, but those are just some of the thoughts that I had with that.
That's beautiful. I think a hard part about creating safety too is sometimes there's things you do that you feel compelled to do.
Yeah.
Like what were some of the stuff for you where, you know, because we always say, right, your paradigms create your interpretations create your emotions create your actions create your outcomes. So when you have the wrong paradigms, when you are operating from Heather paradigms or victim paradigms, you're naturally going to feel compelled to do something bad, and you can't help it, right? What were some of the things you did that was like that, like as soon as you did it, you're like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have done that. But in the moment, you just cannot. You just I had to do it, like even though you knew it was wrong.
Yeah. I think like struggling with kind of an intimate relationship was something that was super hard for me to just like let go of.
Mm.
And so I just some examples like, you know, when I would want to like experience that with my partner and she's telling me no, it's like, okay, like I can say I can accept it as no and just let her like be free with that. Or like I can try more things to see if it'll change her mind. So it's
I see.
like, oh, like please, like come on, like stupid things like that. Or it's like maybe I'll be like really, really nice to her tomorrow. And like that'll like really turn her on and think that like, oh, like, yeah, like I want to have sex with this guy now. And so
Yeah.
there's like very like hunting strategies of like, I'll be super, super nice. And then as soon as like that were to happen, then that's not who I really am. And so then we just go back to being how we are. And that's something that she would always comment on. And one of the things that she's still trying to like get past with me right now is, are you just doing all this to be nice so that you can get what you want eventually? Because that happened so many times.
Yeah.
It's like being nice was actually a red flag to her
It is.
because
Yeah.
she knew like there was something tied to that.
I think it's the hard parts of creating safety too is like it's so like it's so subtle, right? So, for example, in your example earlier, you could be okay. Let me start with my example first, right? So, for example, like you know, sexually speaking, I was always more adventurous than my partner, for example, and so there was always some things that I want to do that she didn't want to do,
Yeah.
at least in the beginning. And I used to like get upset with her at that, right? But then now, whenever she tells me like no, I would actually paraphrase her, and I would use that to create more safety, and I would go like, yeah, you know, not thinking about it, given the past in our relationship and like looking at your childhood, I would think this is a bit weird too. So you know what? The fact that you said no, perfectly normal. In fact, I appreciate you saying no because yeah, I think it was a bit weird for me to ask that right now. And so that kind of like creates a safety for her to be like, oh, okay, I think he's getting it, he's understanding it, right? Now, the hard part though is like, if the intentions that come from when I say that is so important, right? So we talk about this whole notion of, are you doing to have or are you doing because you are? So a lot of people hearing that story might go like, oh my God, that's such a great tactic. That's such a great tactic. I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna try that, right? But you don't get it. If you try that, if you do that, but your intention is to have, she can smell that. So you can take the same tactic, the exact same words, the exact same actions that the pros do, but come from a wrong intention, and it would just fucking fall flat. Because again, the same thing, right? If you sense someone doing something nice, but you can sense like they're doing because they want to have something, you're like, fuck that. I don't buy that,
Yeah.
right? But because she can sense I'm doing because I am, and this can show in your micros, it can show in so many different subtle ways, right? That will change everything, which is why the internal shifts are so crucial. You cannot fake it. So you can try all these tactics to create safety, but if you don't have the internal shifts, it will fall flat. Have you experienced this yet?
Yeah, like the niceness that I would show. Um, it's like, why is being nice a bad thing right now? Because it's getting me like further from what I want. Because like you said, like she could spot it a mile away, and she would constantly bring that up too. It's like, like I appreciate you being nice right now, but like I know what's going on. Like I know you just want this. And then what's frustrating is that as soon as that happens, then you're just gonna go back to who you were. And so I've even like thought about some of the ways that I act right now. And it's like there's really not like a big difference on the actions that I was doing previously when I just like wanted to get something as to what I'm doing now. But like the meaning behind it and the intentions behind it are so different that that same action is being received very positively now, where before it was actually driving her further away. And so like that's just like super interesting to me, that like me like commenting about her beauty, or like helping around the house more, or just like wanting to just like be there for her, and like just do like really nice things just to make her feel better. Like those things weren't necessarily things I wasn't doing before, but I was always doing it so that I could get what I wanted.
Which
And
is
like
funny sometimes
I even
when
like feel the changes now. It's like there was one point a couple months ago where she had said like, oh, like I appreciate this, but like I don't believe it. And then it took a moment where I was like, oh, like maybe this is bad again. But then like I remembered like the program. It's like, well, like paradox of change. It's like, am I gonna crumble now because I got that resistance? Or like is this just who I am? And there was a moment where it's just like who cares? Like this is who I am. Like this is who I want to be. And if
that,
she
yeah.
has resistance to that at first, it's like
Yeah.
it's not that I just like stopped doing that now. It's like I need to like double down on like making sure I have the right intentions behind that, and making sure that like my actions are untethered, because like that is who I want to be. And that's why I want to keep doing. And like that was like a big turning point for me, I think, that when I got that resistance of like, oh, I don't believe it. You're just doing this just because of, how you always were. It's like, no, like that's not what I'm doing. And I understand like she won't,
I
it'll
love
take her
that.
a while to really like realize that. But like for me, like I'm not gonna stop doing that, because like that's who I want to be.
Yeah. I love that, right? Because the way to create safety is not only do you need to create your internal shifts, because that will show in your microtones that makes the things you do genuine. But even if you seem the most genuine guy on the planet, your partner's not gonna believe you overnight.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes the best way to see someone's intentions is to see how they will react when they get a no.
Yeah.
So there's so many clients, right? So not clients, but so many comments I get. Jeff, I tried to do this thing once, and she didn't respond well to it. I give up. I'm like, you don't get it, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you do it once, like for example, people say, I will do anything to change. I will do anything for you, partner. I will do anything to get you back. Anything. I'll fight you for you forever. Right. And then their partner says, give up, dude. There's no hope here. Oh, fine, forget it then. I give up. I'm like, what? You just said I'll do it forever? I'll do anything? And then a few minutes later, you're like, upon resistance. Don't tell your partner the first thing he said was just fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
That was just him putting on an act. Like people don't get that. I'm like, oh, why? Why are you doing this? Right. Um, Sometimes too, like some clients, they don't want to join the program because their partner said no to joining the program. I'm like, your partner, like, are you saying your partner, like, so this is what you're saying. You're saying I will do anything to change. I will do everything to change, right? But only if my partner gives you permission to change. I'm like, Dude, this is your life. This is you, right? Like, if you say, "Oh, you told me I can't join this program," they're really like, "I really believe in this program, partner. I really believe it." No, don't join it. Okay, then. Did you really believe in the program? Then I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
are you like you're training your partner to never believe anything you say, kind of thing. So, which segues nicely into the POC conversation because you said like when you joined the program, you did get a lot of pushback from your family.
Yeah, my
Who
dad.
and what pushback was it?
Yeah, um so interestingly enough, like I think, a lot of the habits that I developed through my life were kind of learned in my home growing up. I think that's very common for a lot of people. It's not an excuse to like just embrace that, but you can, there's something you can do about it. So for me, the program just resonated with me so much that yeah, I joined it, and and I was like so excited that like the first thing I did was come home and like tell my parents. And the first thing that my dad said was, "Sounds like a scam." Like they take your money up front, and then what? Like I wouldn't do that. And it's just like, man, like what a blow. Like I was so excited to like tell them, and then it's like, no, it's a scam. Like beware of it. It doesn't sound like a good idea. And it's just like, all right, well, I guess like whatever. I'm just going downstairs. um,
Yeah.
I when I was home, like my partner would notice like I'd go down into the basement a lot, and it's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Well,
Is this the command center for wait, is this where you are at right now? Are you
yeah, this is like kind of the office area where I work from home a couple days a week.
okay,
Yeah, do the program like in private. So this is kind of like my private room. But I go downstairs a lot and then come back up. She's like, "What are you doing down there?" Like, well, like that was kind of the first time where I told her that I was joining a program, and she's just like, "Oh, good, like that's good," And
but it's
I think
that
like
dismissive like whatever. Like do you feel like it was
kind of
dismissive
like
or
I
yeah.
think it was like oh, like good, I'm really happy you're doing that for you,
Okay.
but it wasn't like for the relationship, it's more than likely like, oh, like yeah, that's good. It's more of like, oh, like I'm glad you're doing something. That was kind of all the feedback I got, and I
Okay.
was kind of expecting like, oh, like great, that's so wonderful, but it's kind of like, oh, I'm really glad you found something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um
but it's
I
been
yeah, go
obviously,
ahead.
it's been, I mean, just I think the best thing that I could have possibly done for myself right now. Like there's no question about it. Just we've tried. I've tried other things. I've done personal therapy. I've tried couples therapy. Um, I've just tried talking to others that I thought could help me, and just I think like the key difference is like there was never a process given to me of how to do something.
Yeah.
It was always like, well, yeah, like this is what you should do. This is, do this, do this, do this. Like, okay, so how? How do I do that? And like just the processes in this program are like that. I feel like that's been one of the biggest missing pieces for me is there's actually like a process that you can do that can be repeatable.
Yeah.
Like you do this, and it's good. And it's like, okay, so there's a lot of accidental goods that we do, but if we like if we can replicate that good thing that we do, like that's beautiful.
And it's the thing, right? Because I'm a type A male. Like meaning I need everything to be like ordered, right? So when I
Yeah.
was first learning this stuff, and I was like, man, this is too like unreplicable. It needs to be more systematized. And so, which is what forced me to create this program and go like, here's a systematized way to create internal shifts. Here's a systematized way to 7 frameworks. Here's how you combo it all. It's like, this is like that's why I created this program is to make this abstract, soft, really mysterious part of people's lives, as relationships, emotions, into something more of a science for people, right? But I want to go back to this thing of paradox of change too. Is this is why the internal shifts are so crucial too, like untethering, because If you are tethered and you do because you want to have, you can never break through paradox of change. The truth is, anytime you try to change, anytime you try to go to the next level in any part of life, career, yourself, spiritually, financially, with children, whatever it is, right? As parents, you're going to go through paradox of change. Any big change is going to create suspicion in people. Every big change you make is going to create doubt in people, right? I remember the first phone call I made to my family. I was like, because I quit my job, right, from a data science, and I started this thing without telling anyone. I just did it silently, like quietly, because I didn't want people to like create doubt. But then made my first 20,000 month, and I called my family. I was like, "Oh my god, I made my first 20,000 month." You know what they did? They laughed. Enjoy it while it
Yeah.
lasts. That hurt, right? But deep down, I knew that I wasn't doing this because I want to have money. I wasn't doing this because I wanted to have people's approval. I was doing this because I am. This is who I want to become, right? So that didn't bother me. But for a lot of people who are trying to reconcile, trying to save their relationship, the only motivation of why they do something is because they want to have that reconciliation. And so when they do get that paradox of change, that resistance from their parents, from their wife, they crumble so quickly because they're like, well, I don't see the having coming to me right away. So what's the fucking point of doing then? Why should I keep doing? You know? But ironically, what they don't see is like after you go through the paradox of change, when the having is going away from you, that's when people start to believe in you. The same way now, right? People start to go like, oh, maybe this is serious, Jeff. This is the new Jeff. Oh, now people know me as this, right? People believe it now. People don't resist it now. The same thing. Like I think right now you're going through a bit of paradox of change when your partner is like, I don't know if this is real or not. But if you keep doing the same things, it'll be crazy for your partner to think in 2 years from now, like, wait, he's been doing the same things for like 2 goddamn years. Is this still real? I'm like, at some point, she has to believe you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you keep going back and forth because you're tethered, you keep like, you know, what's that called? Like relapsing because if you're so tethered, then yeah, it'd be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, she will never believe you. And then you're left wondering, like, well, you know, maybe my relationship is not savable in the first place. No, it was savable. You just didn't allow it to happen because you're so tethered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was heavy. That was a lot. 2 hours. No, an hour and a half. An hour and a half.
Yeah.
Anything else that you felt like we missed that you've been dying to get out of your mind
I
to
don't think
share?
so. I mean, I'm still going through the program. There's still several phases for me to get through. And I think from where I'm at, like this was very appropriate to like my learning curve so far in the program and touching on, yeah, like untethering and paradox of change and the victim mindsets. And um, I think still going through like stages of the bulletproof vest for me right now. And I just think like the last thing I would think about is how on the bulletproof vest, like there were just situations where my partner knew like if I go in and do this, or I go and start diving down like this path, like I will lose my emotions. It is just inevitable. And so like, those are still things that I'm like trying to work through with the bulletproof vest and like build those layers to where um it's still a work in progress, but there's like certain things now where like I come home to like a messy house, or for example, like I think my partner is expecting me to get angry. She says sorry like right away. It's like, well, like what are we saying sorry for? It's like, oh, I just know like that's gonna upset you. And it's like, I'm not upset. Like I'm not. And like that is like so freeing.
Yeah.
Just like to reflect on myself. It's like that was one of the biggest contention points when I'd come home from work, is like there's this giant mess. And I would get angry. And like for me to like walk in now and it's like what a chance for me to just like embrace my daughter, like loving to play with her toys, like
Yeah.
kinetic sand and Play-Doh. It is like everywhere. It's like, you know what? Like, this is great. And like messes can be cleaned up later. Like that's not a problem. But like to like come home now and to like not even feel bothered by that. Like it's amazing.
That's so telling because that's so relevant for me too, because like, you know, I was telling this couple that came over 2 nights ago, and I was saying to them, um, you know, you guys need to start like seeing life differently because you guys like you see everything as like a drama. You guys see everything as a problem.
Yeah.
You know? You blow out a tire, problem. And you make life into this all constant panic and constant like, oh my God, it's so bad. You know, for me, for example, right? I I found out my partner was not loyal. When I found that out, I was like, good. This explains a lot of stuff that's been happening right now. Now I understand. And now this reveals to me a lot of things I need to work on about myself. Because if I, let's say, didn't find this out today and I find this out like a year later, 2 years later, this would continue to fuck up my life. So good, I found this now, right?
Yeah.
And good that she's telling me now because she's telling me right now that the pain of keeping it from me has been so painful that now she wants to tell me. And good, this tells me that I haven't been creating safety. This tells me how to create safety. It tells me so much. And so now you take this really bad moment and you're like, good, this is good. You know, I bought a tire, right? I have this Mercedes that gets like a freaking puncture every 2 months. I don't know why, right? We hit one pothole and it's like a puncture. And we got like these tires that's supposed to be non-punctured or like less prone to puncture, still gets punctured. But then every time I get a puncture now, I'm like, good. Now my wife can see how good I am under pressure. Good.
Yeah.
So now my wife and I get to sit back on the side of the road and listen to some podcasts, something that we can't do usually. Good. Right? So anything that happens to us is like good, 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 good. Well, for some people, it's like everything is drama, everything is just negative, everything is just like a stressful thing, right? And but think about how attractive you become. How when you do this, right? First of all, like you would feel safe with someone like this. Like, come on, nothing bothers this guy. He turns everything into from negative to positive. He makes me feel safe. That's why my partner
Yeah.
loves me. Why internal shifts are so crucial. Can you admire someone like that? Fuck yeah, right? Can you talk about deep issues that you need to align on? Fuck yeah. Will you feel more and more like maybe I can have sex with this person? Maybe I want to have sex with this person. Maybe I feel something for this person. Yeah. But if you are someone who's always like a man who's always like, oh my God, everything is your bulletproof vest breaks every time. Of course she doesn't feel safe. Of course she can't admire you. Of course you can't align. Of course there's no passion. Duh. But everything starts with the internal shifts. The internal shifts is crucial to allow your partner to fall to safety, to fall to passion, to fall to admiration, etc. Right? That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like going from moments where she would expect something wrong to happen to now like that doesn't happen. And it's weird for her. It's like,
Yeah.
why aren't you getting mad? But like
Yeah.
enough repeatable times and like consistency over time. And like that's the new expectation.
Right.
And
Right. I always
so
say to
yeah, and
people too,
it's
it's like
starting.
because like I use the example of affairs a lot because I think that's such a part of life that people get so wrong. Like the way people have been trained to like deal with it is just like so bad. So I told this couple, right? It's like um the wife. I was like, okay, so you got angry when you found out that he was not loyal. Do you still wonder why he didn't want to tell you in the first place? Why he had to like pent all that stuff inside? Because this is how you react. You lose your shit.
Yeah.
Just to learn to reframe, learn to not lose your shit all the time. When you do that, right, and you allow him to like now express stuff to you, you'll be surprised at what the safety could create, kind of thing. But yeah, guys, if you want to explore the program that Brett is in, with me, then we have a masterclass. It's about an hour and a half long. And that masterclass, towards the end of it, will show you how to apply for the program if you're interested. So join the masterclass if you want to learn more. It gives you a very 10,000-foot view, but of course, like Brett, you experience, right? The program is just much
Yeah.
bigger.
So much deeper than the master class.
Go figure. But dude, this is so fun. This is good. This is I had a lot
Yeah.
of,
I mean, you get to a point where this is like enjoyable.
yeah.
Like you just want to keep doing it.
So I asked Brett in the before I recorded the interview. I was like, "How'd you feel?" And then Brett was like, "I'm kind of nervous." How did it go? Like, what's your post performance analysis of yourself? How did you feel
Yeah,
now?
I think you could tell my nerves at the beginning. Like you asked me a question and it was like, where is this guy going? And I knew myself. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, just no, it's just like being my authentic self through the interview, like being who I am. And I think being who I am is like somebody like I'm comfortable with navigating through an interview like this.
Yeah, good, good. So we'll probably do like a follow-up interview soon or in the future. Because I always like to give an update on like where are people. Because the thing I want to show people, Brett, is there's like a guy right now who's like talking a lot of shit about our program, and I don't like this guy. But anyway, he's like saying like, well, for example, like I think he talked to Jason Newman, right? The onboarding guy. He talked to
Yeah.
him like probably like 2 years ago or something like that. And of course, like Jason Newman at that point, he still hasn't reconciled yet. Well, we did an interview. But then he's like, "Ooh, even Jason, he hasn't reconciled yet." Well, guess what? Jason right now is moved to Houston. He's like next to me with his wife, with his kid. He just bought his wife a new car. Like they're totally a couple, right? They're totally cool. So what I want to show people is like, hey, when you learn this stuff, you are gonna continue going up. You're just gonna keep going up. There's no down. There's never a down. The only down is when you give up. That's it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be reaching out soon again.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for this experience.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for choosing me. That
Keep
was
killing it.
yeah, yeah.
Bye.
Okay.